Hi, I'm Bob Butler from KCBS Radio, and welcome to a forum of candidates running for the seat on the Ambrose Park and Recreation District Board. Today's forum is sponsored by the Contra Costa County Elections Division and Contra Costa TV. We're holding this roundtable via Zoom, so there may be some issues, and taping it in the CCTV studio. So please note the candidates' names that appear on screen may include their campaign email address, just in case you want to contact them. The candidates for this office are Steve Hoagland, Eva Garcia, and Eduardo Torres. Now, Mr. Hoagland and Ms. Garcia are here with us today, so let's talk to Eduardo Torres. Mr. Torres, welcome, and I'm curious, why do you want to do this?
Hi, Bob. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you to CCTV for hosting this. Well, why do I want to do this? I'm a lifelong resident of Bay Point. I grew up using our park systems. I played Little League baseball with West Pittsburgh Little League for years as a kid. I grew up learning how to swim at our community pool at Ambrose Park. And so I know the great value of our park systems. And I know that personally, it's helped shape me to become the person that I am today. And unfortunately, the problem is that our park systems haven't been in the best shape as I remember as a kid. There's a lot of life experiences that kids are missing out on today because we don't have amenities that we once had. We fought very hard to get our pool. We fought very hard to even get a conversation on the bathrooms started for our Ambrose Park. And so that motivated me to run for office and to run for a seat as a director on the Ambrose Recreation and Park Board.
Infield or outfield?
I play a little bit of both. I played catcher. I also played I played right field, and from time to time they would mess with me with pitching. But
so that means you probably are a righty then, if you're a catcher, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I hear you. So, what are your thoughts about the current state of the budget of the board and its fiscal status?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that question. As we know, Bay Point is an impoverished community. We sit well below the state average poverty line. And so I think with the budget, we really have to take a look at it. And personally, I would like to see an audit happen. There's a lot of questions there that haven't been answered by the district or by the board. We've been asking for years to look at the budget, to explain the budget to the community so we have a better understanding of how money is being spent. We want it to be spent responsibly. Unfortunately, we've been met with a lot of resistance. We've been called ignorant. We've been mocked for even asking about the budget. So I think there's a lot there to look at. And one of the things I want to do when if I'm elected is, asking for an audit so we could take a look at how the money's being spent, and so that we could also have a transparent conversation with the community. And that's something that's very sorely lacking at the district level right now. And that's something I personally am committed to doing and making sure that our dollars are spent the right way and responsibly.
Yeah, all budgets, all cities, counties are strapped right now because of a number of reasons. How much does the pandemic play into that?
Well, I think in this case, we'd have to take a look at it. I know that the parks have been closed here since March. I know the district's basically shut down since that. So I'm not sure how that's affecting our budget. I'd like to know. Unfortunately, when I go to the website for the district, we have missing minutes from the last couple of months. We don't have that clarity of what's happening. We don't even have a Zoom function for community members to participate virtually. There's a lot of questions there that I'd like to know regarding how the budget's being affected with COVID. I'd like to think that it hasn't been affected in a negative way, but then again, it goes back to my original point is that we have a lot of questions there around the budget, anyways. But I'm hoping that past COVID that we're not in bad shape.
You said the parks have been closed for several months. I mean, yeah. Kids are starting to come out. Can they get to the parks and play?
I would hope so. I think we're seeing in different communities and different cities that they're finding creative solutions to address the COVID pandemic by creating, circles that are 6 feet away from people at certain parks, virtual online classes that we're seeing. But that's not happening right now within our district. There's definitely a lack of vision, a lack of creativity, a lack of leadership, because Bay Point has been very impacted by COVID. We have it's a very small community. We're 20,000 plus, and we have a pretty high rate of COVID cases in this community. So it's very disappointing to see that that's not something that's being applied or being thought of in terms of actually addressing the COVID situation and being creative. If I'm elected, I know that that's something I will fight for. Like I will fight for creative solutions to address the pandemic, even if it stretches out to next year, which potentially could happen. And we have to think outside the box because we are a resilient community. We are a community that's, like as I mentioned, we're impoverished, but we find solutions to get things done. And so I think that that's one of the things that I like to see more hands-on from the district and for our board members is like think creatively, like how can we help these children and people who have health issues use our parks even under COVID and not just shut everything down. And as I've noticed on the district website, everything's been shut down since April, and there's been no update since then.
Is that because the staff has been furloughed also?
My understanding is that, to be quite honest with you, I don't know if they've been furloughed or not. But in any case, the parks are shut down. So you can't get into Ambrose Park, which is this park right behind me. The gates are closed. You can't get in there. And there's pretty much on the website that says that the parks are closed and the programs, the recreation programs are also suspended while, the pandemic's happening.
So it sounds like one of the questions is, what do you think the relationship of the board should be with the community? It sounds like you don't think that's a very good one right now.
Yeah, it's been pretty rocky. I started getting involved about 8 years ago with ACE, which stands for the Alliance for Californians, Alliance of Californians for Community Empowerment, and we started organizing around our pool, which is again located at this park. It's been shut down for many years, almost a decade, and we brought our issues to the board, but we weren't being heard. We had to go to the city of Pittsburgh, which for folks who don't know, this park right behind me sits on the property. Basically, the city of Pittsburgh has some influence over the park because it was basically annexed by the city. So we had to go to the city of Pittsburgh for their help to, help us get a new pool, as well as our county supervisor who helped us get funding. Even though we had been going to the district for years, asking them to reopen the pool. And the same thing happened more recently when I partnered up with First Five of Contra, Costa, which is a great organization that does great advocacy around parks and child development. And we struggled just to even get a conversation about bathrooms. And bathrooms are dignified. Those are simple things. I think when we look at bathrooms, there is a component of equity there because if we can't get decent bathrooms there, what does that say about us as a community? And so we had to go to the city of Pittsburgh and we had to go to our county supervisor for help in order to get those projects done. And as I mentioned earlier, even just raising questions about budget has caused board members, and particularly the incumbents, to call us ignorant and to mock us for even asking about the budget because we don't know anything. We don't know any better. So if I'm elected, that's something I know that I'm going to fight for, is to make sure that all the voices of Bay Point are heard, and then making sure that there is a line of communication with the community. We are a very proud community. We are a community that has so much, pride in our town. But that's not being represented or reflected on the leadership level. And that's something, if I'm elected, I'm very happy to do and very committed to do it, and making sure that, we have all the solutions and the funding we need possible to make these projects happen.
What is your background? Like, what have you done for a living that's going to help you as a board member?
More recently, the last 4+ years, I've been working with a statewide organization called Tenants Together. We're an organization that advocates for renters' rights. So in that time, I've done a lot of community activism, not just in Bay Point, in Concord, Contra Costa County, and all over Northern California, by helping support groups who are doing on-the-ground independent organizing in those cities. So with that experience, I've been able to form partnerships, and being part of coalitions and build great relationships with all sorts of organizations. They have been, coming through even for this election. We've been endorsed by some great organizations like Lift Up Contra Costa, like by ACE, by Our Revolution, Contra Costa. And these are all through partnerships that I was able to build as an organizer to put us together. But also just before that, Bob, I used to work in radio. I used to work right across the street from you at Univision for 10 years. so I do bring that experience of being able to communicate to the masses, being able to simplify these messages of what's happening in terms of politics, because I think sometimes the average person doesn't have the patience or the willingness to understand what's happening locally. So I think that I could be a great communicator in that respect too. So I bring definitely a lot of experience with building partnerships through community engagements, and definitely a lot of experience being able to making sure that we're able to deliver our message to our community, because again, there is a population here that is very neglected, which is our Spanish speaking population. So if I'm elected, I just want to make sure that I'm that great communicator for our community, and then I'm also fighting for social justice issues, for equity issues, for dignity, for Bay Point. We deserve quality parks, and we deserve our sports leagues back. And baseball, Little League baseball, has been gone in our community for almost decades, and that's not acceptable. And this park right behind me used to be a hub of activities. Baseball, swim, barbecues, that's all gone. It's a park that's neglected. So I'm happy to bring all my experience, if I'm elected, to improve our district and our parks.
Do you know why these sports have disappeared?
It's a combination of both. I think there's issues there with leagues sometimes that you don't have the proper leadership, so sometimes they disappear. But quite frankly, again, this is probably why I put this picture behind me. Ambrose Park, I hold it close to my heart because I have so much fond memories growing up here as a kid. There used to be about 2 baseball fields there, and if you go there now, it looks like an atomic bomb got dropped because they're gone, they're wiped out. So not having that, not having quality grounds for leagues, I think is causing that issue of not having new sport leagues coming. Because if we don't have proper baseball fields, if we don't have proper football fields, then how do we expect these leagues to start up? So we have to think about reinvesting into our parks. And if I'm elected, I'm definitely committed to reinvesting into our parks, making sure that we have sports programs here again that we could be proud of.
Mr. Torres, thanks so much for answering these very important questions. You now have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Thank you. Thanks again, Bob. Well, I definitely just want to reach out to all the Bay Point residents and let them know that as a lifelong resident of Bay Point, I grew up here in the park systems. I played baseball, as I mentioned, and I swam, learned how to swim at our community pool. This is all important to note because I am very committed to this community. I've lived here all of my life. I know the life experiences. I know how much greatness there is in this community and how much greatness could come out of this community. The problem is that we have board members that don't have the vision, aren't willing to listen to the community, and quite frankly are disrespectful and condescending to our needs. And so I am very committed to finding those solutions in this community. I will do anything possible to form partnerships, to work with groups that are outside of Bay Point, to bring in those resources here, to not leave money on the table like the incumbents and the other board members have left money on the table. This is something that's very passionate. Is a passion of mine because, as I mentioned, parks matter. Parks matter not just for the beauty of it, but also for our health, for our mental health, for all the physical health that we need and to improve in our community. So if folks want to learn more, they can visit my website. It's www.torres4parks.com, and feel free to check out the platform and learn more about me as a candidate. And feel free to also just follow us on Facebook too, on Torres 4 Parks. And I'm really looking forward to your vote. And I am looking very excited to bring back baseball, to bring back also all these great activities we used to have here at Ambrose Park and throughout our whole district. So thank you again for having me here this morning.
Thanks, Eduardo. This concludes our forum for the candidates running for the Ambrose Recreation District Board on November 3rd. The candidates, you just heard from Eduardo Torres, incumbent Steve Hoagland and Eva Garcia were not with us today. For more information on the candidates, visit votersedge.org. The Elections Division has set up multiple drop boxes around the county for you to drop off your ballots. The one nearest to you, please visit www.cocovote.us or call the office at 925-335-7800. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to vote on November 3rd or by November 3rd. And the deadline to register to vote for this election is October 19th. I'm Bob Butler. Thank you very much.